Welcome to Live Free. I'm Angela K. Austin. Together, we'll discuss books, we'll explore the world, and we'll do it with some of my closest friends. And hopefully, we'll make new ones along the way.
Hey everybody, this is Angela K. Austin, and today I am here with Lawrence Hall. Say hi to everybody, Lawrence.
Hello, everyone.
All right.
There you go.
All right. So now, guys, you know I have interviewed Mahogany Silver Rain. I've interviewed Moni Boyce. And now I'm interviewing the last of that trio, Mr. Lawrence Hall. These guys started an organization called BAR. And remind us of what BAR stands for, Lawrence.
Black authors and readers of romance.
And they invited myself and so many others to join this group. And so when they invited us to join, I was like, well, I need to interview all of these people because I want you guys to know who they are and why they decided to create BAR and why they invited all of us to join and be a part of it. So before we get started, Lawrence, tell everybody who you are, why you write, and then we're going to talk about why you guys thought that BAR was just a necessary thing to create in this day and time. So tell us who you are.
Well, again, my name is Lawrence Hall. I am a Black male romance author. I didn't know if you could tell that, but I write romance. I've been writing for about a year now. I believe my first book was published in self-published May of 2019. So it's about a year and a half right now. I do write romance. I write various subgenres of romance, romantic comedy, contemporary romance, paranormal romance. I also have written a couple of reverse harem books. Probably by the time this one comes out, you'll see my second reverse harem book. So I dabble a little bit in romance. The main reason why I write romance is because, and this is a funny story, my wife, she started, I've always been an avid reader. I've read, my mom used to take us to the library back in the 80s. I'm dating myself a little here. But back in the 80s, we used to go to the library all the time. We'd walk out with like 10, 15 books, me and my sisters. And by the time, 2 weeks later, all those books was read. We'd go back and get more. So that's what my mom did for us in the summertime. So, as I got older and I got married, my wife started reading. And she would read, she got into romance by Twilight. She read Twilight. And she's a bit obsessive compulsive. So like when she latches on to something, she like really latches on to it. And so she was reading Twilight over and over and over again. Then she was watching the movie. So it was a Twilight movie. And I'm sitting here like, if I see Bella, Edward, and Jacob one more time, I'm going to explode. So I told her, I said, let me get you some other books, because there's plenty of books I used to read all the time. So I was like, there's got to be other books out here. And I wasn't familiar with the romance genre. But I said, let me go ahead and get you some other books. So one day we was in Target, and we was in the book section of Target, and I just went ahead and just picked up a book. I always forget who it was. I forgot who it was. Anyway, I picked up. I said, here, try this book. So she took it. She bought it. She took it home. Loved it. She read it. Next thing I know, she's ordering books off of Amazon. She's going to Barnes and Nobles. I mean, there's romance book after romance book after romance book. And I'm sitting here just looking at the cost, like, how much money are you going to spend purchasing all these romance books? So I said, you know what? If you're into romance, you're into reading these romance books, I can go ahead and write you a romance book. It's not a problem. Hey, I'm a big time reader. I went to school for media studies. I write scripts. I do all this kind of stuff. So I was like, I could write you a romance book, no problem. So I wrote her a book, and that actually was my first book that I put out, Vigilante. I wrote her the book, and I told her, here you go, you can read this book. It's now, what is this? This is September 2020. Vigilante was produced May 2019. I actually started writing Vigilante back in 2013. She still has not read the book yet. I am on her TBR list. She tells me this all the time. She's eventually going to get around to reading my book, but I am on her TBR list. So it took so long for her to read my book. I said, I'm just going to throw it online and let somebody else read it and see what happens. So other people started reading Vigilante, which is my first book, the book I wrote for her. They loved it. So I started writing more books. So that's how Lawrence Hall got into romance writing, because my wife, who I wrote the book for, put me on her TBR list to be read. I still have yet to be read. I think I've got about 10 books out now. She still hasn't read any of them yet. I'm still on her TBR list. So there you go. That's Lawrence Hall. Whenever you pick up a Lawrence Hall book, understand that's the background behind it. He is still trying to write and meet the criteria that his wife has set out for him. So there you go.
It's like your wife has some high standards. Kudos.
Yes, she does.
Well, you know what? I want to share this with you guys really quick before we talk about Bar a little bit. When I reached out to Lawrence to ask him to interview with me, you know, I gave him some dates. He was like, I can't do that date. It's my wife's birthday. So I know that he is all about making sure that his wife is, you know, definitely satisfied and happy. So kudos to your wife for sparking this new career for you and for having such high standards. Maybe we all will get like 20, 30 more books, you know, before she reads it. You know what I mean?
I'm a black man. I'm an unadulterated black man. I married a black woman. She is truly a black woman in her standards and her line that she has drawn. Like, if I don't meet this line, it's just not going to happen.
I ain't mad at it. I appreciate it. Tell her that we all say thank you. You know, not mad at it. Along. 1 year. Wait a minute. You said 1 year.
Right.
And you've got 10 books?
Well, I have about, I think I have 10 books, and I've started a comic book series as well. So if you put it all together, I got about maybe 14, 15 different little books or novels or, you know.
Wow. Okay. We're going to get into
that, man.
I mean, I've been out there for like 13 years, and I think I may have 15, 16 or so books out there. So we're going to talk about not only the fact that you've been out there for a year smashing this whole game, but, you know, like how you're getting your books out there. And I know I've seen some of the comics, and it's so funny because, you know, people like when I prepare for interviews, I like to go and do some research and see what people have out there. And so like, what is it like? The stick? It's like a we have got to show y'all some of these, you know. So I'm gonna pop some of the stuff into this video. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast, you're gonna have to jump over to YouTube.
Yeah, man.
We're talking about. But before we get into it, tell us about Bar. How did you meet Moni and Mahogany, and what made, you know, you guys really want to come together and make Bar happen?
So Moni and Mahogany, first off, shout out to them. I really appreciate those ladies. I started on Instagram when I first self-published. I was doing some research and I was like, okay, what social media should I use? Because I wasn't really big on social media. I'm still not really, well, people think I am, but I'm really not. And from my research, they said Instagram's a good way for self-published authors to go. So I jumped on Instagram and just put myself out there. I have no problem. I have no shame. You know, pick up a Lawrence Hall book. I have no problem promoting myself whatsoever. So when I got on Instagram, I started just throwing myself out there. And that's how I connected with Moni and Mahogany, through Instagram, because what I did was I started noticing that a lot of the romance authors, and I'm not sure if this is similar to other genres, but a lot of romance authors, the indie authors, they're very supportive of one another. When I first got into it, even with this right here, you know, this is your platform, and you're, you know, supporting me by allowing me to come on, which I appreciate. But when I got on Instagram, I noticed that the authors it was like a loose collection of them, but they would try to support each other as best they could. And I also noticed that there was something called loops that was on Instagram, where people would go and they try to get followers and have people engaged. So I said to myself, well, why don't I do something where I have people who are looping, but we just do nothing but romance people. So romance authors, romance readers, or whatever have you. Let's see if we can all just gather this loose community of people together in one location. So I started an Instagram loop. It was called the Loop Family. It was a romance loop, and it just grew. It started off with like 7 people, and we just do a loop like every month, and then more people came on and more people came on. I think I got up to like 100 or so people at one point in time. I think we got about 300, actually. I take that back, about 300 people. And so that's how I connected with Moni and Mahogany, through the loops. Well, then I kind of got bored with Instagram because in my mind, I was like, I kind of mastered Instagram. So I was like, let me go ahead and transition over to Facebook. So I said, I transitioned over to Facebook, started my readers group, Halls of Romance. That's where it's at. So come join Halls of Romance on Facebook. And I started that group and I did my Facebook page. And I said, well, you know, maybe I could do the same type of thing here where I just connect with people here. And so what happened was there was a person, and I really do apologize. It slipped my name. It slipped my mind who it was. She started a chat because she would interview Black authors on her.
Stella?
I think it is Stella.
Yeah.
I think it is. I gotta go back and check. I can't remember that because it's been a couple of months now who actually started there.
Yeah.
But if it was Stella, if it was you, shout out to you. If it wasn't, my apologies. But she started the chat room and she had invited all these different Black authors who write romance, and she would interview them. And in my mind, I said, well, we have all these Black romance authors in one location. Why not just start a group, a Facebook group? So that's what happened. Well, I started a bar, Black authors, readers, and readers of romance. I needed admins, so I reached out to Mahogany because Mahogany is very supportive in the indie community. And I'm not just going to say the indie community because I don't know whatever all the different pots she has and different fires she has. But, you know, I know she's very supportive of what I do. And so I invited her to be an admin. I reached out to Moni because Moni at the same time was putting out support Black authors on Instagram. She was doing these posts, especially with the George Floyd situation and everything that happened with that, all the civil unrest that's going on with that. So she started really throwing out and promoting Black authors out there. But I was like, you know what, Mahogany, I know what you're doing. Moni, I know what you're doing. I need admins for this group because I know how I am. I got so many different things going on that I'm really not gonna be able to pay the attention that I know it needs. So I need people who I can trust, who I know is going to be invested in and going to help it to grow and turn it into a place where it can be a supportive place. So it's not just a place, bar is not a place where you go and you just drop an advertisement and you leave. Bar is a place where you go and you should be interacting with other people, whether you're a reader or an author. To me, in my mind, it's like going to your favorite cafe, you know, Starbucks, except it's just a Black online place where you can go and hang out. And it's not just for Black people or people of color, period, but that's the emphasis of, you know, just another way to help support the community and get us out there and make sure that we have a support system in place. Just a place for you to find some information, basically.
Yeah, I like that because, you know, I'm going to tell you guys you know, I have interviews with Moni and Mahogany that'll be coming out as well. But, you know, this is something that for the past, you know, 15 years or however long I've been doing this whole thing. This is something that is has always been true. You know, it's like people in indie publishing, my experience has been is that we've always helped each other. You know, when I first came out, I came out with a digital publisher, right? So over the course of the time that I've been out, I've had like 3 different ones. One I pulled my books back from. Another one went under because, you know, we've had all those publishers where they just kind of they don't go out with grace. So, you know, they like, you know, it's like you know, they don't give you your royalties or whatever else. And so, and I have another one right now that I'm kind of fighting with a little bit, you know, to get books back from. So, but all that being said is that, you know, at first I wasn't self-publishing. I had publishers. So when I decided that I wanted to self-publish because I didn't want my work to just kind of disappear, and, you know, you have all the issues with traditional publishers. So, you know, it's just like, Black woman, how do we market it? Blah, 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 blah. We've all heard it before, you know. And
I haven't heard the Black woman part, but go ahead.
You never heard that part?
No, I'm joking with you. I'm joking with you.
Yeah, like, let me give you the abridged version. It's hard to market books that feature Black women as the love interest, right? Gotcha. So, which of course you yourself have proven. I mean, you're a Black man writing romance because you wanted to have something to give to your woman, your wife, who is a Black woman. So Correct. Here we go. All you publishers who are watching this and listening, boo on you. You know, but, you know, I didn't know how to self-publish. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to get my books out there. I didn't know how to format my books. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff because I had publishers who did it.
Okay.
But guys, before we even started this recording, Lawrence and I, we were talking about the fact that we both come from like media, whatever backgrounds, and so our love for creating. But I just never wanted to do that part of it. To be, honest with you, Lawrence, it was like, oh, I just want to be the writer.
Right.
I want to be the talent. I didn't want to,
right.
But so many digital publishers were just going under and had bad reputations, and I was just like, well, I'm going to do this my way. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And so, I found software and different things, but it was all because my friends who had jumped into it before me, they taught me how to do it. They were like, this is how you format, this is how you this is how you that. And, like you said, on IG, I'm a member of a pod, what you call a loop. I'm a member, you know what I mean? And we help each other, we promote each other. But, all the different Facebook groups that are out there, all these things, it was because we all decided to work together, teach each other, to learn, and to really continue to put own voices, put our voices out there so that there wouldn't be other people writing the experience. Like, one of the other reasons I really wanted to interview you for this is because, you are a Black man married to a Black woman writing romance, for a Black woman. And, and this is nothing against anybody out there. So please do not misunderstand what I'm saying. But you don't have a lot of Black men writing romance. I mean, you get some people who might write urban fiction. You might get some people who are writing male romance. But, but you're kind of a unicorn, Lawrence. How do you feel? How do you feel being that purple unicorn on the hill?
It's funny that you say that because I actually have nicknamed myself the unicorn. So I'll definitely say I'm a unicorn out there. And it's funny because I have a group of my street team. A group of ladies just came together. They was like, one of them was like, hey, Lawrence, do you have a street team? I was like, no. She was like, boom, we'll start the street team. I was like, great. So they started the street team, a group of fantastic ladies. They in the chats that we have, they're like, Lawrence, you're a vampire, because it seems like I never sleep. And I heard that on Instagram too, because I'm always doing stuff. They were like, do you ever sleep? So I'm like, I've taken the unicorn, but I've evolved it. So now I'm a vampire unicorn. But I love it because I consider myself a unique individual, So I thoroughly enjoy the fact that I'm one of the few. If I know there's others out there, but for right now, in my mind, I'm the only one. I'm the only one that's doing it. And I will say this, even though there's other people out there doing it, man, you're not gonna find them like a Lawrence Hall. But I actually put that out there to my readers group. And again, Halls of Romance, go join it on Facebook. I put out.
We're gonna make sure we link that. We're gonna put that in.
Please. I asked them. I said, "Do you all?" Because, and I'm sure a lot of times people will ask, "What is your writing similar to? Who do you compare to?" So I actually asked my group. I was like, who do you all? Because all of you all read romance. What do you compare a Lawrence Hall book to? They all said nobody. They all was like, Lawrence, you're unique. Your stuff is different. So even your plots and your banter and just all the stuff that you do is there's nobody out there like you. So I was like, cool. Hey, that works for me. So I love it. To answer your question, I love it. I love it.
I think that's fantastic. Guys, and honestly, and all of you guys listening to this podcast or watching this YouTube channel, you guys have heard me say this before, in that as a woman of color, as a Black woman, writing for me meant that I got to show a different perspective of the experience of a Black woman. But for everybody watching this YouTube channel or listening to this podcast, you guys know, you've heard me say that I write because of the fact that I wanted to show what I saw as a different side of the experience of the Black woman, of a Black American woman, right? And for me, when I write my stories, there's always a little bit of religion. There's always a little bit about family. There's always a little bit about corporate America or whatever, because those are the voices that I feel like I can speak strongest through. So when I shape my characters and I shape my stories, I shape them through that lens, But when it comes to, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. I've met a lot of people over the years, but, when I really do think about it, I'm sitting here trying to think as I say these words, as I'm trying to make sure I'm like, right. I cannot think of anyone else I've met who is a straight black male, or you know, a black male in a
Emphasis on straight. Emphasis on straight. But
you know,
ahead.
like in a relationship, you know, with a black woman who's writing black romance. I can't. I mean, you know, I'm
Right.
on an indie circuit. I mean, because you know, we're not talking about the Eric Jerome Dickies and you know people of this nature, you know. But I'm talking about on this indie circuit. You know, who can I think of? And so, if you guys can think of somebody, tag them because I want to know and I want to interview them too. You know, I want to know what it's like. But what does that feel like? Because every time I go, you know, and I don't know since you've been doing this for a year, have you been to any of the events yet?
Oh man, you know what's so funny? I'm glad you asked that question because 2019, I'm honestly just doing this and learning as I go along. Like I said, when I put my first book out there, I literally just said, I'm just gonna put it on Amazon. I just threw it up there with no plan, no nothing. I just threw it up there, got on Instagram, was like, check out this book. So then as I go along, of course, then you know, you're not supposed to advertise like that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm really feeling myself, I'm feeling my way through this thing. So in 2019, I was like, okay, there's these book conventions. I'm gonna go to the book conventions in 2020. COVID-19. So I haven't had a chance to hit any of the book conventions yet. I did a virtual one, but no.
Yeah, you did El Lorenz, right?
Right.
I think that's the first time you popped on my radar. I was like, what?
Who is this guy?
Like, who is he? What?
Yeah, heck is me.
Because it was like, and you know, if you guys were not a part of or didn't participate in El Lorenz event, it's like the same energy that Lawrence has right now. He came on there, he's like, I'm Lawrence Hall. It was just like his whole vibe was like this big positive ball of energy. But that's gonna be so interesting for you when you hit these events because it's just these events are so they're women heavy. You know, I'm like, other than the husbands who accompany their wives.
Because they're made to.
There are no men, Lawrence, there are no men. And, you know, and it's just, but it's so interesting because, you know, my, all of my channels are about the whole thing about voices, giving people new voices, platforms, giving well, and when I say new voices, people, I'm talking about people who are indie authors and stuff like that, but also I do have people like Miss Bev, and I just had a recent interview with Renee Daniel Flagler, and these guys have been out there forever, and Renee Daniel Flagler is with Harlequin, but you know, but it's also that thing of, you know, voices like yours, which is really new because you've been out there for a year, and voices like mine, even though I haven't been out there, you know, I've been out here for a long time, but still, when you talk about the real estate, you know, that's out there, there are so many people writing, there's so many books available. So when you think about the percentage of people who are aware about voices, because we don't have publishers behind us who are big, who have these followings. So when I'm talking about new voices, I do talk about it in a number of different ways, guys. And right now, I think I'm probably talking about it most in the capacity of the reach and just how many people might know that we're out there. So all these indie events, the indie, you know, IRAE, the Interracial Author Expo is one that Cassandra DeWitt does. And is that the one that you were going to attend, or were you going to attend? Where was it? There was one that was going to be in Canada. There was one that was going to be in Minneapolis. There's a couple, and they all got canceled. But which one were you looking at?
I think I was looking at the interracial one. There was a few in Florida because there's another reader of mine. She was like, "Hey Lawrence, you know, I heard you want to get to some book conventions. Check these out." Yeah. So I was looking like you named Canada, you named Minneapolis. I saw those, but I'm trying to go warm. I don't really like going cold. So the further south I can go, the better. Or, you know, like Vegas or something like, you know, I'm just, shout out to Minneapolis, shout out to Canada, you know, it's all cool. But look, I can't stand being cold. So, you know, if I could go warm, that's where I'm going to go. So my eye geared toward, I think there was one in Disney World or something like that.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, though, like I was looking at some of these events, and either I missed the deadline to register as an author, so I'd have to go as a reader, or you had to be like invited. And I was like, okay, well, I obviously haven't hit that level yet where I'm going to be invited to it. So the way my mind is, because like I constantly say this, and I truly believe this. This is not just me blowing smoke. You're not going to find another book like a Lawrence Hall book. Called a Lawrence. I call it the Lawrence Hall experience because it's an experience when you deal with me. So if I'm seeing a book convention and I wasn't invited to it, I'm kind of like, well, you know what? I'm not going to go. I'll go when you invite me to it. So I wasn't going to go as a reader or anything like that. You know, some people's like, you know, Lawrence goes so you can see the experience. When Lawrence Hall shows up, doggone it, he's going to have his booth, he's going to have his placards or whatever have you. Lawrence Hall's going to be there as one of the features. And doggone it, Lawrence Hall is an experience, and you're going to experience Lawrence Hall. So that's just the way my mind works. So I kind of disqualify some of them for now.
For now, no, don't take it personal. You know, you know, it's so funny though, because I know exactly how you feel, because there's a few, I write in the women's fiction, contemporary romance kind of lanes. I mean, I love my paranormal, so every once in a while I have to drop some paranormals, and I have to do like a holiday book. I mean, you know, but I'm also one of those people who, because I work in corporate America and work a full-time job, I'm one of those people who is, you know, I miss a lot of things, you know what I mean? So if it's not for like you, like readers or author friends, people be like, hey, Angela, did you see that? I'll be like, nope, didn't see it. I hadn't, you know what I mean? So, you know, so it's like, so a lot of the times I know exactly when people are like, oh, you know, you do have to be invited to an event. And I'll be like, oh, was I invited? And then I'll go into like my message and I'll be like, oh, I was invited. My bad. I missed the whole thing. Sorry. I missed because I barely checked, because, you know, like people will send you messages, and, you know, if you're not like friends with them, the message just goes into like, you know, like into the
spam folder basically.
And I'm like, I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be like anybody's whatever. I just literally didn't see it. And so I didn't respond to it, you know? So I know what you mean, because I miss a lot of stuff, you know, but the one in Florida, when it comes back, you have to be there.
I'm trying to.
It's going to blow your mind, because it is like a family reunion. It's amazing fun, but you get to talk shop. You learn how to do the whole indie game better, but you also get to meet people who you've only seen online, who love your books. And if it does nothing more, it inspires you to keep writing. When one person walks up to you and they're like, I love that book, and they know the book better than you, it's like, you just made my whole year. You know what I mean? It's made my whole year. Which brings me to one of my questions. Okay, so I'm looking at my cheat sheet, guys. You know I got my cheat sheet over here. So tell us a little bit more about your books in general. Because like I said, the comic book one, when I saw that, I was like, is this stick figure? Like, what's happening? You know, I'm like, I need somebody to explain to me what's going on. So tell us more. Now, we know why you started writing, for the love of your wife, for the attention of your wife.
To save some money. That's what that was. It was draining our bank account.
Just to put it my way.
Okay, yeah, you're right. For the love of my wife, right.
So tell us, you know, tell us about this Lawrence Hall experience. And then tell us which book, because I ask everybody this, which one of these Lawrence Hall experience books put you on the map? Which one made all the fans say, we got to pay more attention to Lawrence Hall? We need to know what's going on.
All right, good question. So the Lawrence Hall experience, you can't really explain it. I mean, it's like, how do you catch lightning in a bottle? You know, I mean, like, you know, what kind of cliche can I come up with to explain a lot? I mean, you just can't, you just have to experience Lawrence Hall. There's no other way to put it. I mean, the bottom line is you got to experience Lawrence Hall. So you got to go out to Amazon. You got to one-click all his books, okay? Because you got to experience Lawrence Hall.
You sound like Muhammed Ali. I love it, okay?
Look, I'm trying to tell you, he was on to something, right? I have said that. Some people have told me that I am the most confident person that they have ever met. I'm an optimist. I truly believe. And so it's not necessarily confidence. Yes, I am confident in my writing, that my writing is top notch. I mean, it just is. But I'm totally optimistic in the fact that when you pick up a Lawrence Hall book, you're gonna be like, wow, this is fantastic. I mean, this is arguably one of the best books I've ever read. I mean, that's just the optimist in me, and I can't operate no other way. I just can't, you know. Why would I put it out? Why would I say I'm gonna write a book, I'm gonna tell a story, put it out there, and say hopefully you'll enjoy it? I mean, it just doesn't calculate in my mind. I'm going to write a story. I'm going to put it out there. You're going to enjoy the story because I enjoy the story because I wrote the book. There you go.
I'm not mad at you. There's no reason to cast doubt, you know?
And you know what, honestly, along those lines, I'll say this without answering your question. Because when I first put it out there, my first book, again, I put out there, Vigilante, the woman, her name is Ashlyn, and she is a police officer. Of course, all this was written before everything is going on now with the civil unrest. But still, bottom line is, I do have respect for people who put their lives online and stuff like that. So she's a police officer, and one person sent me a message, and they said they didn't like how strong a character she was, how strong a woman she was. And I said, interesting, because in my mind, I don't know any weak women. I just don't. Like my wife, my sisters, my mother, they're all strong women to me. So I just don't know any weak women. But then the very next day, another person sent me a message and said, I loved how strong a character she was. She literally used the exact same verbiage that the other person did, and they didn't know each other. So I said, you know what? I'm writing these stories. I'm going to write them the way I write them because they're for some people and some people they're not for. The people they're not for, that's totally fine. You can go kick rocks and keep it moving. But the people who actually want to read these stories or who are indifferent to the stories, either way, you're going to find something that you're going to connect with and enjoy. So having said that, the book that most people have gravitated to first, because they do go back and read all of my catalogs. I actually put this out. I was like, what book have you read? And a lot of people have actually already read all my books in my readers group, which was great for me. But the book that put me on the map in their mind was The Frog and the Lady. The Frog and the Lady is a romantic comedy. Honestly, you're not going to find anything funnier because it's a Lawrence Hall book. And Lawrence Hall put this book out. The Frog and the Lady is a romantic comedy. And what I did was I asked my wife, I said, I'm going to write a romantic comedy. I consider myself a funny guy. I need a book to read. So she gave me a romantic comedy book to read. And I read it. I didn't laugh. I was like, this is comedy? This is supposed to be comedy.
Comedy is hard. Let me tell you what. If you laugh at anything I wrote in my book, that means that you get my dry humor. Comedy is so hard to write.
It's subjective.
Like people who write satirical comedy, I read those romances, I die laughing, I love them, I tried it. It was the worst thing ever. I remember going back through the book and just deleting all the jokes. Like, why did I even try that? It is so hard. So you write that and you write it masterfully, I'm already attracted to that. I love that. That means that I need to read one of those. So tell us more.
Frog and the Lady. Well, this is the thing about any Lawrence Hall book that you pick up, because I have contemporary romance, paranormal romance, like I said, reverse harem, and romantic comedy. Any of them, they're all going to have these tenets to them. I'm going to put some kind of action in there. So there's going to be some kind of action, because I can't stand my characters just sitting around doing nothing. So whether she slaps him in the face or something, there's going to be some kind of action, okay? There's going to be comedy in all of those books because that's just a part of who I am. So even in my paranormal series, the main bad guy, to me, he's the funniest character because I'm constantly writing him doing something that's just ridiculous. And I crack up laughing, even though he's going around killing people. It's just he's like a Joker type guy, but it's funny to me. So anyway, so The Frog and the Lady, when I wrote that, I read the romantic comedy that she gave me. I didn't laugh. I went out there, I picked up another book. I'm not going to say who the author was because it was an indie author, but I didn't laugh. And I'm like, okay, it's supposed to be comedy here. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe it's so heavy on the romance that they're missing the comedy. So I set out purposely to write a book that is a romantic comedy where you're going to laugh and you have the romance in it. So that's The Frog and the Lady. Most people who have read that book literally have told me they have laughed out loud. Some people say they've cried laughing on it, because that was my whole focus was you're going to make sure that you laugh out loud when you read this book, and then also get all the feels that are associated with romance. So that's the book that most people are like, your gateway to a Lawrence Hall experience is The Frog and the Lady.
So now I have to ask you this before I ask my next question. With this, like if you having this kind of romantic comedy kind of writing and whatnot, have you ever tried to submit some of this to a mainstream publisher?
Yes, I have.
Like the indie? Okay.
Well, I have. See, and this kind of again, it might be my ego, it might be my confidence. I actually submitted The Frog and the Lady to an agent and to a publisher. And I truly do understand. I really do. Because like I said, my background is screenwriting. I know when people submit scripts to movie picture, to movie studios, stuff like that, agent stuff, they get so many scripts in the course of a day, they can't read them all. So I understand the concept behind it. But I submitted The Frog and the Lady. Keep in mind, I truly believe this is the funniest book you'll ever read. Right? It's just, to me, this is Shangri-La. It doesn't get any funnier than this book. So I submitted this book, and the agent rejected it and didn't even read it. And they rejected it because it's a short read. It's not very long. I think it's like 150 pages. It might be like 40,000 words, something like that. But they disqualified it because it wasn't enough words for them. And I was like, okay, so you didn't even take a second to read. Like, you might understand the concept of it, but you didn't even take a second to. Well, you know what? I'm gonna do it myself. So, because I'm literally in my mind, I'm like, you have passed up gold. Not even gold. This is platinum, right? You have passed up the most precious material you'll ever get your hands on. So I'm gonna do it myself. So yeah, I just been putting it out there myself. That's it. Just because my ego was like.
When I first started in this whole thing, submitting and stuff, I used to feel like that. But I have a book that's a part of my Civil War series. So I like to write in that history world,
okay.
And so I have a historical paranormal. And when I wrote the book, I started writing the book like years and years ago. But, I was like doing a lot of research because I wanted to make sure I had the history part of it right. Okay. And so when I released my book, what was the name of the book? Abraham Lincoln. Was it Abraham Lincoln Vampire Killer? Do you know that book?
Yeah,
that movie.
I've heard. That's you?
No, that's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, for everybody watching the YouTube channel, my whole face just went like, what? No, it's not me.
I was like, that's not indie at all.
It's not indie at all. But when I had never read that book and I hadn't seen the movie. But my book came out, I can't remember if my book came out before or after that book. I really don't remember. But when I won this contest with my book, one of the things that the agent who reviewed, because once your book won the contest, it was submitted to an agent. Okay. And the agent who read the book, she read it, and she was like, it reminded her of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer. Okay. And I was like, oh, cool. I never read it. It's like but I'm going to go see the movie and I'll see what you're talking about. Okay. But the thing that, that's one of the things that I talk about with us as indie published authors or whatever, because people do want to always put us in a category and say that you are like this person or like that person.
Right.
I watched that movie and I was like, my book is not anything like that. That movie is about Abraham Lincoln killing vampires. Yes. My book, I looked at abolitionists. I have an abolitionist family and I work in a lot of the Civil War and everything. Okay. So if you want to talk about, it's about set around the Civil War, and how we use historical figures. But that's the end of the similarity. Nothing else about the book is anything like the movie, Okay. And honestly, I have not read the book yet, so sorry. But you know what I mean? But it's like nothing about it is similar. So I'm just like, but that's because people want to say, they want to put everything in pockets. Right. And they want to say that this is like that and that is like this. So, so your confidence, I don't think I see it as refreshing because you're like, you're not going to read anything else like this. You're not going to, because it's like, there's, what's the comparison? Because that is that thing. Like, I grew up reading certain people. And so I do say that there are certain, like, I would love to be able to tell stories like this person or do whatever like that person. But you know, when it comes to like, is your writing like something? Sometimes I'm very hesitant with that because of the fact of things like that. Like to me, whoever's watched the movie or read the book, if you read my Civil War series, I want you to tell me if my book is like that, because I don't see it. People.
Right.
So y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. But it's just that thing. I just find it to be so interesting when people do, you know, put you into those categories and then they dismiss it, or in something like this because of the word count. Because it all gets so sticky. And like you, I understand it. But then you start padding stuff, or you start writing things to fit what somebody wants.
Right.
And it's almost like you lose part of what you wanted to create, which is why you wrote it, because you're trying to make it fit something. You know what I mean? And so I do. So I feel you.
I can't do that. I can't. Like somebody asked me maybe a couple of weeks ago, they was like, you know, I've noticed that a lot of your books are short. They're short, relatively speaking. So I don't have like 400 or 500 page books. I don't have 1,000-page book. You know, a lot of times my stuff is relatively, it's under 200 pages at this point. Now, you know, in the future, who knows? And that's because I have a screenwriting background. Screenwriting, you know, you have an hour and a half to 2 hours to tell your story. So in my mind, I'm like, I got to get this story done. I want it jam-packed. I don't want it to be a situation where someone's reading it and is dragging along because I'm trying to fill in words. And okay, so you're going to disqualify my book because there's not enough words. Then that's fine. You know, it obviously wasn't for you. So that's I understand. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I understand. I'm not mad at it. And that's how it was a lot when I started, because I think a full-length book was considered to be 50,000 words when I started. And so most of the publishers, you know, depending on the genres and stuff like that, they were looking for your minimum word count to be 50,000. And so I was kind of trained like that. And so most of my books are going to probably be somewhere between that 45 to 80,000 word count, because I was submitting traditionally, you know, and so even now as an indie author, I still go in that zone. So when people ask me like, oh, to be a part of an anthology or something, I'm like, ooh, what's the word count? They're like 20,000. I'm like, whoa.
There's no way.
I don't tell a story in 20,000 words, you know? And then readers get mad because they'll be like, oh, your book ended with a cliffhanger. That's because it's not a book. It's 20,000 words. How do I cram a whole story into that? And so I'm so bad at that. So I'm trying to get better at it, because every time I'm asked to be in something like that, I love being a part of those. But the challenge for me is always writing the shorter word count and telling the kind of story that I want to tell, because I feel like I leave out so much. And then it's like, so I only end up writing the first act. That's all I can ever do. And then people get mad, and it's like, it's their fault, not mine. No, I'm just playing. So now my other question for you is, now we know that the story that made readers sit up and take notice was The Frog and the Lady. But is that your favorite book? What's your favorite thing that you have ever written?
That's always a tough question. You're asking me to choose between my children, man. I can't choose which child I love.
Pick a favorite.
I don't have a favorite, because it's not a cop-out. It's just I put so much into each story that I write. And then, because like my wife tells me all the time, she's like, well, you can always go back and adjust your books. I'm like, no, I can't. Because when, like, for example, The Frog and the Lady, I put that out in November of 2019. I can't go back and touch that. I can't go back and revise it. I just can't, because I poured so much into it that when I'm done, I'm done. So for me to sit there and try to choose a book, I can't do, because each book took a moment of my life where I was pouring everything into it. So now I'm done. But I can choose a favorite character. Now, my favorite character is the bad guy in my Vigilante series. I love him. I love, like, his, the way I write him, he's such a bad guy. He is just like evil through and through. And he's so funny to me that, like, when he's killing people, he's singing songs. I mean, like, I love him. He was actually scheduled to die in book 1, but when I started writing him, I've got 3 books. I'm working on the 4th one soon. I don't think I can kill this guy. I really don't. Because I just love him so much.
Psychotic. He might need to be murder, death, killed. He's singing while he's murdering people. Okay, what's his name? So we all know who to look out for.
I knew you was gonna do that. I can't think of his name on top of my. Oh my goodness! I gotta pull it out. because I changed his name. I
Okay.
changed his name because he gets powers. Now his name is the Anomaly. I had to look it up. The
Okay.
Anomaly, because I can't tell the story, but he takes on powers and he does something that no one else does. And part of the reason why he's done what he's been able to do is because I'm like, I can't kill this guy. So when I start writing him, and I know, being an author, a lot of times these characters just take on a life of their own. This guy's running around doing stuff. I'm like, you weren't supposed to do that. Now he's accumulated all this power. I had to change him to the Anomaly. So
Yeah.
that's his name. Eric. Eric was his name. His name was Eric, but then it's been changed to the Anomaly. So
I'm not mad at that. I've had characters like that, I think anybody out there who's ever written anything, you've had kind of like these secondary characters or these characters that make your story more complete that you didn't think that were going
right.
to amount to anything, but you needed them for that part of the story or for that whatever. And then you go back and you're like, wait, why is this character so alive? And then
Right.
you end up doing something for them. Because I have a couple of stories that it's always hard for me too, because I always tell people I end up thinking that I love the story that I'm writing in the moment. Like I love that story.
Right. Right.
Then it's like, then when I finish that, I love the next story. Then I finish
Right.
the next story. But it's like, but like you, I do have characters that I love. I love Watson in my Civil War story. He's like one of the heroes, and then I love Victoria in my book Sweet Victory. It's like I love certain characters. I feel like I put them through so much because I'm in that women's fiction zone or whatever, or even in my Civil War, because Civil War is just like war. And so you have these people who either they I don't know, they elevate up and they meet the threshold, or they just worthless. You know what I mean? It's like you're in two zones,
Right.
So it's like I have these characters that I just love because I don't know. You kind of put all these traits into them, and you're like, are there humans like this? Like I want to meet the human who is like the person I just put on this page, and so I just like love them for whatever it is. I just put them through, and they like either like they met the threshold I wanted them to meet,
Right.
and I know that sounds so funny to say for people who are not writers, or whatever, because you're like, yeah, you made them meet the threshold. No, they didn't necessarily have to meet the threshold. They could have failed, but I love it.
Yeah. For me, it's funny because like one of the best movies that recently came out that I think is just great is Avengers Infinity War. And the reason why I love Avengers Infinity War is because Thanos won. Like I was that kid. It was so weird. Like when I was a kid and I'll be watching cartoons like G.I. Joe, I used to always be mad. I'm like, why can't Cobra Commander ever win? Like the Transformers, why is it Megatron always loses? I mean, to me as a kid, it was like, it just doesn't make sense. You're a bad. Why is Shredder always being beat by the Ninja Turtles? Why can't the bad guy ever win? So with my characters, I think like it's funny, you love your heroes. I actually love my bad guys more than I love my heroes. I know they can't win because I always write happy ever after. That's the other thing with a Lawrence Hall book. You're always going to get a happy ever after or happy for now. I just don't believe in, killing off my main character. They're just not going to die. But part of me is like, I don't want the hero to always win. So a lot of times my hero is going to go through so much because a major part of me is like, the bad guy's going to win right here. Ah, shoot. He can't win. Darn it. Okay, fine. I'll flip it, later on down the line. But yeah, if I can figure out a way, I haven't figured it out yet. I actually was looking into writing an anti-hero. Because I'm like, I got to have a story where the bad guy wins. I got to.
Well, I'm with you right there. I mean, not that the bad guy wins, because I am the happily ever after chick or the happily for now chick. I'm not the happily ever after so much because of the women's fiction. So a lot of that, when I write it, it's all about, so right now, this is a beautiful moment in that person's life. But right over that horizon, like, you don't know what's over that horizon, right? There could be something else there that might challenge her, because my story is focused on the woman so much. But I'm in the process right now. The third book of my Civil War series is, it's like the whole concept of that, that anti-hero. Not quite, but I'm playing with it. I'm trying to see if I can make something happen, because I liked my villain in my story.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm trying to take my villain into I'm like,
Okay.
let's see what I'm like. He is somebody that I felt bad for him. I was like, oh, Rick, no, and it's like, so this is me, giving it a shot. So I'm working on it, and we're gonna see what is happening. But I'm actually loving the way the concept is coming, but it's definitely a hero. It's definitely a villain that I'm trying to see what I can do, if I can change that and change the way people see him. And actually, I have a book coming out. It should be out before the end of this year, but that book, I'm not making people love the hero. I mean, the villain, but I want people to understand the villain.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when it's over, I want them to be like, well, dang, why can't he have his piece of the whatever? You know what I mean?
I didn't like the fact that he cut off their leg, but I understand why he cut off their leg. Yeah, I got you.
In that zone. I just want people to understand, like, you may not like him, but I want you to understand,
That's why I love Thanos, because Thanos was he was just trying to save the universe.
Thanos was cray.
I mean, look, he had a great plan. You get rid of half of the people, you save the universe. Thanos had a great plan, man. I thoroughly understood.
Why couldn't he just teach us more conservation ways, man? Why you gotta just murk half the society?
Man, half society ain't doing nothing anyway.
I ain't going with you. Thanos ain't taking me. You know what? This is how, because I grew up with a brother, and so comic books and things like that. I'm all about it, right?
Okay.
Which is why we're gonna talk about your comic book characters in a second. But it's like when I saw, like, I watch everything, watch all of it. I have nephews. I watch everything.
Okay.
But when I saw the previews for Avengers Infinity War, and then and I'm one of those people, I talk to everybody like, yeah, what happened, right? Well, tell me what happened. And when they told me what happened to Peter Parker, I was like, no. I tap out. I ain't watching it. I'm telling you, I watched Endgame. And then I went back.
Are you serious?
Yes, I did.
Are you serious?
Y'all not going to play with me like that with Peter Parker. It was like, y'all bump that. I was like, you let me watch. And I literally waited. What was that? A year and a half?
Yeah.
I watched Endgame.
Wow. Okay.
And I went back. I was like, no, I cannot watch Peter Parker. And then when they told me what his words were, like I was like, oh, I didn't even see it. It was like they were just telling me what he said, and all the emotion in my heart was like, I will not watch that happen to Peter Parker. And I did not watch it until the other one came out. So now let's go back.
Okay.
Tell me about your comic book. What's with the stick figures? Explain the whole thing to me. Make me understand what's happening.
Okay, so the name of the series is called Pick Up Sticks.
Yes.
And it was chosen by the readers in my Facebook readers group, Halls of Romance Facebook readers group, right? So what happened was it started as a writing prompt because I was writing my book Wing Woman. And because I was writing my book Wing Woman, to get myself in the zone, I just did a little stick figure comic. It was like a little 2 or 3 line stick figure thing. And because I was cracking myself up with it, I was laughing at it, but it would get me creatively going. So I just started throwing them on my readers group every day. And I was like, you know what? I just wrote this just because I'm trying to get going. Well, lo and behold, my readers started really getting invested in these characters. And they started commenting on the characters every day. Oh, I can't believe Rose did that, because one of the stick figures, her name is Rose. Oh, I can't believe Jake made that decision. One of the stick figures' name is Jake. So I'm sitting up here like, wow, they are really getting. One person asked me, Lawrence, can you tell me what does Rose look like And I was like, she's a stick figure. There's, I mean, because I didn't put any type of investment in the characters. I was just doing it as a writing prompt to get my creativity going. Well, when I finished writing my book Wing Woman, I was done with that creative because, like you said, when I'm done with something, I'm done with it. I move on. You know, that was a tool I used for Wing Woman. I'm ready to find another tool I can use for my next book. But by the time I finished writing Wing Woman, that my readers had gotten so invested in these daily comics of these stick figures that are trying to find love. So their romance is a romance stick figure comic book that I put out daily. They got so invested in it. I was like, you know what? If I stop writing these, I'm probably going to lose half my readers because I think half of these people. I said I'm going to have a revolt, and I put that out there. I said it's going to be a revolt on my hands if I stop writing these. And they was like, yes, we're going to revolt if you stop writing these characters. So I was like, wow, they really have a following. So just like I did with my first book, I said, you know what? Let me just go ahead and put together a comic book and start putting it out there. And they are thoroughly enjoying the comics. So it's about 10, 15 characters running around in the city of Stickville. That's the name. It's the city of Stickville. The main characters are Jake, Rose, Trish. So Jake is the main character. Trish is his next door neighbor. Rose is she's a actress, and the way that Rose and Jake first got together was Jake was very shy because my man in Wing Woman was a shy character, so I had to get myself into the mindset of being a shy male. So Jake was shy. Rose is an actress. Rose's career was struggling. So what she did was she joined like Tinder or something like that, online social media group for dating. She connected with Jake. They went out on a date, and she figured it would help her get more eyes and headlines, so she could get a new role in her, have an opportunity to be cast in a new film to get a career going again. Well, Jake is shy, so when they went out, it was that whole dynamic of the beautiful actress who had paparazzi following her, and Jake was shy, so he was trying to avoid the cameras. And the question is, did they hook up? Did they not hook up? We don't know, but there was pictures of Rose being taken. Rose now has a sex tape that's been released online, featuring Jake. Jake bumped into his neighbor on his way home, Trish. Trish just came back from grocery shopping, so she dropped her bags of groceries. One of the groceries that she had was some steaks. So Jake, who likes Trish, she's a very attractive stick. He cooked her dinner, but it was a steak dinner that he cooked her. She's a vegetarian, so she didn't eat the steak. She was holding the steaks for her friend Rock. Rock is a gym rat. He's a physical trainer. He has steroids. So when he came to pick up his steak, he saw that Jake cooked his steak. He got mad at Jake. He beat Jake up. So in Pickup Sticks, there's a lot of drama. There's action. There's comedy. Pickup Sticks is another Lawrence Hall experience. That's all I can tell you.
So who are the readers of Pickup Sticks? Is it still like a heavy female readership, or did you pick up more men when you produced this?
I'm glad you asked that. That's so funny because another author, and I quoted her on my last advertisement that I put in there. She said, because I started talking about Pickup Sticks, because another author was like, Lawrence, I got a Pickup Sticks joke for you. And so one of them, a person was like, what are you talking about Pickup Sticks? So I was like, I have a comic book. I have a romantic comic book featuring stick figures. So I showed her Flirt, which is the newest one, is issue 6. Mm-hmm. It's got 2 lips on the front of it. That's the cover. It's got two lips. She was like, what is this? So she went out there, picked it up. She got it from Amazon because you can get all the Pickup Sticks free on Amazon. Kindle Unlimited. So go pick them up. She went and she picked up Flirt, and she typed a review. She gave it 5 stars. She was like, I don't know what I just read, but this was awesome. And it was funny because she said her husband, she was cracking up laughing at it, and her husband was like, what are you laughing at? She showed him, he started laughing. So I think they both went back and read all 6 issues. I'm not sure. I honestly don't know who's reading pickup sticks, to be honest with you. I really don't. It's very successful though. It blows my mind. It is very shocking to me because when like I said, it was a writing prompt, so I would literally spend no more than 5 minutes on it. That's all I would do. It was unedited. I literally just wrote the first thing that popped in my head. So this tells you the kind of stuff that's floating around in Lawrence Hall's head. I would write the first thing that popped in my head. I'd put it online and I'd move on. And they were cracking up laughing. They are so invested in these stick figures. And even now when I do the comic books, I literally just write the first thing that pops in my head. There are no second revisions. Every book you get is the first thing that popped in my head. And it's so crazy how these characters are just running around doing whatever they want to do.
That sounds so raw, but it's just so crazy because, like I said, I always like to do research and learn more about all the people who I interview. And I was like, so what are these stick figures? What is happening? I was like, wait a minute, maybe he like flushes them out, like, because every time you see a comic book, the women are always super sexy,
right,
and the men are always super buff,
right.
So I was like, this can't be, you know what I mean? So I'm like literally scrolling all over your page, going to Amazon. I'm like, wait, no, I think it's a stick figure comic book. I was so trying to figure it out. Oh my God.
And part of the reason why I did that, honestly, is because, like you said, when you look at other comics, because there's not a lot of romance comics out there, which actually blew my mind. I was like, wow, I can't believe. So I was like, well, shoot, I'll go ahead and dominate this space then. So I said, I'll just put them out. So they come out every 2 weeks. I put a comic book out every 2 weeks. And when I was looking at it, I was like, yeah, a lot of, shout out to all the artists and stuff like that who draw and they do it, and their pictures are so beautifully rendered and all that kind of stuff. Like, first off, I don't have that artistic quality. I can't draw worth a lick. So I got sticks. I can do stick figures. I can do basic illustrations. So I do that. Then I was like, you know what? Since they're stick figures, there's no black, there's no white. I got red people in there. I got blue people in there. A character. I just introduced a character named DJ Crush. His tagline is DJ Crush, crushing all your hopes and dreams 24/7 since '87. So, and he's blue.
87?
My man been crushing hopes and dreams since '87.
All right, work it. Wow. Now, you know what? I didn't even think about that, but I love that you said that because, honestly, as a Black woman who writes romance, and I write romance, I hope for everyone, but my romance features women of color, features Black women. Right. So, but the fact that you said that, I hope that really does open your work up to people of all like races and, and cultures, because, that is one of the things that, in my opinion, is so difficult, because, and you guys have heard me say this across all of, across these channels before, but that is one thing that you always have to work with or worry about. Because like when I saw your stick figures, I was like, I'm confused, but like, when but when I do cover art, I have to think about that. Who's going to be on my cover art?
Right.
Is it going to be, a Black woman? Is it going to be an object? Is it going to be the hero, the man? My books are about the woman, but who's going to be on the cover? Right. Now with your stick figure
cover model and all that kind of stuff.
With your stick figure comic book, you don't have to worry about that. You've alleviated one of the problems.
It takes me maybe an hour to punch out the book. I mean, I enjoy doing it because like it is raw. It's very raw. Like this, when you read it, this is the first thing that popped in my head, and it takes me about an hour from cover to putting the book together and putting it out. It takes me about an hour to do. That's why I can do one every 2 weeks. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just set aside an hour, maybe 2 at the most, write the first thing that pops in my head, punch it out there, and there you go.
Every 2 weeks. I will never commit to anything every 2 weeks. Let me tell you guys this, because I just ain't that girl. You know what I mean? It's like it takes me a year to put a book out. But now that takes me to my next question. I'm sitting here gabbing with you all day. So tell me, because for all of my people out there, we know Halls of Romance, and we're going to get to all your social media so we can keep up with your schedule. But what is next for you? What's the next book, the next project that Lawrence Hall has coming out?
So, great question. Thank you for asking, by the way. All right. So, the next Lawrence Hall experience, like I said, I punch out the pick up sticks every 2 weeks. So, there'll be another one coming out next week or whatever have you, because I just released one. Um, I'm supposed to be putting out book 2 in my reverse harem series, Bonnie's Game, Bonnie's Wish. That book, Bonnie's Game, was written back in 2013. Actually, it was one of those books I wrote for my wife. Um, People have compared it to Jumanji, the new Jumanji, where it's because she gets sucked into a video game. But I actually wrote that before the movies came out. So obviously, me, Rock, Kevin Hart, we was all on the same wavelength. But I actually wrote it before it came out. But it's a woman who gets sucked into a video game. Bonnie's Game is the first book. Bonnie's Wish is the second book. It's a reverse harem. People are surprised that I write reverse harem. I'm actually still surprised that I write reverse harem myself because, like you said, maybe 20 minutes ago, I am a straight black male. So for me to have to write a single woman who has 3 suitors is very interesting to me. But I did that because one of my author friends kind of dared me to do it. And I'm not the kind of person you can really dare to do anything because I'm like, I can do it. Because I just had that confidence in myself, like I can do it. So I wrote it and I put it out there and I'm doing it. And it actually goes back to what you were saying earlier about people putting you in a box. I can't really be put into a box because I'm still so new to writing romance. I don't really know what I want to write yet. So I'm kind of exploring everything until I figure out what I want to do. And when I first came out there, a person told me, you pretty much need to stay with one genre. So stick with your paranormal, because that's where you start at. But that's not how my mind works. My mind is like, I did paranormal, now I need to go do something else. I can't just stay in that vein. Okay, I did romantic comedy, now I need to go do something else. So that's why the sticks are actually helping me. That's why I put them out every 2 weeks, because when I get tired of writing whatever I'm working on, I can just go do a stick figure book, and that gets my mind off of what I just did. Now I can go back and finish it. So what's next for me would be Bonnie's Wish, which is the conclusion to Bonnie's Game. Then after that, it's either going to be book 4 in my Vigilante series, or book 2 in my Wing Woman series, which actually takes place in the world that the Vigilante is in. It's just the contemporary side. So the Vigilante's in there, but they don't really pay attention to him because they got their own lives to lead. So I don't know. Or it might be something totally new. I don't know. I just go whatever.
Well, you know what? I understand. It's like I'm put my marketing hat on for a minute, right? I know why people tell you that, but I'm with you. As a person who is what I call a creative, so that I don't feel bored with my own stuff and I don't get, just kind of blah and just start cranking out things. Because, and I know for all the readers who are listening to this and watching this, you know what I'm talking about. You can tell when somebody has just gotten to a point where they're just cranking it out.
Right.
They no longer are feeling what they're doing.
Right.
And I never want to be that person. And so for me, I don't really write to like any sort of kind of like prescribed formula, but people tell you that all the time because it's about that audience that you've built up, right? Those readers expect, a certain thing from Angela K. Austin. You're going to probably cry. Somebody might do this. Somebody might do that. You know what I mean? So with the Lawrence Hall experience, what are they going to get? They're going to get this. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you take them into too many directions, they don't know what to expect. What's wrong with that?
Exactly.
As long as you're satisfied and you enjoyed it, like that's what I want my brand to be. If you pick up the book, you're going to enjoy it.
Right.
Now, you may not know how it's going to end. You may not know what to expect because, you don't know. What hat I'm wearing that day. Right. Is it going to be paranormal women's fiction? You can tell from the cover art. So before you ever pick it up, you already know, oh, this is going to be in her women's fiction world. This is going to be in her contemporary romance world. This is going to be a little vampires over here. You already know. It's going to be a stick figure.
Right.
So I like jumping around. So I'm with you on that, Lawrence. I like it. It makes me feel like I keep producing fresh, stories, fresh ideas. Yeah. And I don't get bored with myself. So
that's honestly why, just to jump back real quick, that's honestly why I submitted Frog and the Lady to an agent and a publisher, but I haven't really done anything else after that because I kind of don't want anybody telling me what to do. Like, I don't really want anybody saying, we need you to do this. No, I'm going to put it out on my own schedule. And I do tend to the needs of my readers. So, like, but I actually asked him, I said, because Bonnie's Wish actually should have been released a couple of months ago, but I'm not done with it. So I was like, do you all want me to release it? I can release it and it end in a cliffhanger, or I can finish the book. And they were like, we don't mind waiting. We can go ahead and finish the book. I'm like, okay, well, cool. You know, so now I can be on my own schedule, and I really don't have anybody telling me what to do. And that's kind of why I haven't really pursued a traditional publishing since, first off, you didn't read my book to begin with. And secondly, I don't really want to be on anyone else's timetable other than what I feel like doing at that moment.
I love that. I mean, I love the pieces. It's like, you know, I can, if I'm in the middle of writing something, but then some other thing hits me and I'm like, ooh, I think I want to, you know, go do that, you know, so I can like leave that story where it's at and I can go and work on something else and then come back. And I like the freedom of that. The only reason I've ever looked at mainstream traditional publishers is because of distribution.
Right.
You know, they have a built-in, you know, base and
they can get in the doors that you haven't been able to get into.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You know, just being able to get that real estate and to get deeper, you know, so that you can get your product into hands who, because that publisher is behind you, they're giving you a chance, you know, whereas as an independent, you don't have that brand behind you. So people aren't giving you a chance. So, you know, but as indie publishing continues to grow and get better, you know, and it's becoming more and more apparent that a lot of people are able to, you may not be like, you know, billionaire, millionaire, but you definitely are finding a lot of independent artists, you know, who are making a living off of their words because, you know, distribution is getting better and better for all of us every day. There are more and more companies out there who are putting programs and software and whatever out there that's helping us get the distribution. So, you know, hey, it's happening. So now tell us about your other social media. So we all know where to go so we can make sure that we are there and we are about it.
Yes, come track Lawrence Hall. Come follow him. So basically you'll find me in one or two places. I have Twitter. I don't really go on Twitter. I just don't. I have a Twitter account, but you can follow me there if you want to. You're not going to get anything. I think the last time I posted something was like in November, right? The two main spots you'll find me is Instagram, at Lawrence Hall Author, and Facebook. My Facebook readers group, Halls of Romance, Black authors and readers of romance, and my Facebook page, I think it's Lawrence L. Hall 5819, I think, but Lawrence Hall Author. You can't miss me. I'm clearly labeled Lawrence Hall Author. Like, you'll know it's me. There's a bunch of Lawrence Halls out there, but there's only one Lawrence Hall Author that's out there, from what I've seen. Now, you know, hey, somebody might think it and run with it, but, you know, it is what it is, man. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
So that's where you can find me. Other than that, I do have a website. It's lawrenceHallAuthor.com. I do have email addresses on there. You can reach me. I'm not hard to find. I'm not running from anybody. You can come track me down. Send me a message. I respond. I'm engaging. I try to be very engaging with people just because people never believe me when I tell them I'm an introvert, but I actually am an introvert. I'm an introverted extrovert, but I prefer to be by myself. But I also understand that I need to engage with people, and I enjoy engaging with people. So if anybody ever wants to reach out to me, definitely feel free to reach out to me. You know, I'll respond to you. I may tell you to go kick rocks, you know, leave me alone, but at least I responded. And I didn't just ghost you or just flat out block you. I will block you though. You know, if you send me something ridiculous, I will block you on that.
I will block somebody. Yeah. I mean, a lot of my author friends and I, we talk about that a lot, you know, because we will block some people really quickly. I tend to block the weird dudes who just reach out to me from, I don't know where, who like, hey, hi. Hey,
I'm so sorry y'all got to go through that too. I hear stuff from so many women online.
It's
like,
weird, dude. It is weird. Stop doing that, people. It's weird.
It's so messed up too because like when I first got into it, I was reaching out to women because romance is a woman-dominated industry. So I was reaching out and I'm like, I sure hope they don't think that I'm trying to send them pics that I don't need to be sending. I hope they don't think I'm like, no, I'm legitimately telling. And it was like, I'm a black male romance author. They are not going to believe that. So I'd reach out on Instagram. Hey, my name is Lawrence Hall. I'm a black male romance author. No, you're not. Get out of here.
Yeah, they probably went to your page and checked it out because there's some. I mean, it's really really weird because as women who write romance, I mean, we post a lot of things. I mean, it's like some people post more personal stuff than others, but we do post a lot because you're just really kind of engaging with readers, talking about your writing, sharing
Right.
some of your life.
Right.
But everyone, probably too frequently, you get these dudes who just, I don't know what they see. But when they reach out, you're just like, yeah, block. And you have to just, no, don't take it personal, people. Don't take it personal.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I don't get that. I get a lot of sex workers. I'll get messages from sex workers. Hey, click on my, hey, come. I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Block.
You'd be like, did you see that I was a married romance writer?
No, thank you.
Man, one day, you're going to have to get your wife to let me interview her. I just want to ask
good luck
her.
with that.
I just want to ask her one question. What is it like to have your husband write romance?
She can't tell you. I'm sorry, go ahead. Finish the question.
Just beg her for me. I'm just gonna ask her. No, I may ask her 2 questions, but just tell her. Just one day. Just bring her to IRAE with you, and then I can interview her there.
Oh, do you think I'm not okay? Do you seriously think I'm gonna go to a book convention and she's not gonna be there with me? Yeah, she will be there.
She's gonna be like, I am his wife with the arrow.
There you go.
You're like, don't get it twisted.
I married a black woman. She's gonna be there.
Just tell her, give me 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Let me do a 5-minute interview. I promise.
You may catch her on a good day.
I just want to ask her, what is that like? Especially when she gets to IRAE and sees how crazy it can get. I just want to see what it's like for her.
I put it out there in my newsletter. Oh, that's the other part of my social media. I have a newsletter. It's a Hall's Pass. You can join that newsletter. But I put it out on my newsletter a couple of weeks ago when I put it out there. She just randomly one day, I was sitting there at my computer, typing away. And she just randomly came, and I had the window open on the balcony looking out. Because I live in an apartment. She just randomly came, looked out the balcony window and said, you need to write 100 books, not including the stick figure comics. And then just walked away. So I'm like, okay, so now, yeah, you might catch her on a good day. You can ask her to free me from this sweatshop she's now put me in where I have to punch out 100 books, 100 different romance books, not including the 2-week comics that I got to put out every day. So yeah, ask her about that one day.
I would ask her about that. I would make that my 3rd question.
Hey, there you go.
You just work on the give me the 5 minutes because I have to ask her. I really want to know what it is like, after she goes to IRAE and sees the real madness behind it all. I wanna just 5 minutes to ask her what it's like to be married to one of the only ones that I can think of. Indie authors who's a black male writing romance. I just want to ask him, just 5 minutes is all I ask of you. Friends for life after that, Lawrence. Friends for life. Just give me that 5 minutes.
It's funny, if you get her on camera or you get her in an interview, I think she's becoming more popular than I am because so many people want to know, what is it like living with me?
I want to know. I really want to know. And all of us, we want to know. You're going to have to let us meet her one day. You're going to have to let her.
Remember Home Improvement with Wilson, with Tim Allen, that sitcom? She's becoming Wilson, like where people know, but they can't quite see her, but they know she's there. So.
That's it. I can see that. I can see that being the thing, but we're gonna work on it. We're gonna work.
I'll give it a shot. I can't make you no promises, man.
As long as you try, we're gonna work on it. All right, all my people, everybody out there in YouTube world and podcast land, I am Angela K. Austin, and this is Lawrence Hall. And I want to say thank you again, Lawrence, for taking time to spend with me this afternoon. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you and your stick figures. I appreciate all that you shared with me today. And for everybody out there who is listening, I hope that you guys learned something new. And I hope that you found a new author that you will go and explore. And if you do, make sure that you reach out to Lawrence and myself and let us know that you checked out his work. It was a pleasure, Lawrence.
Definitely. Thank you, madam. I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you.
All right, everybody. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching. And I look forward to seeing you guys all again soon. Bye.